And thank you for hanging in with us for, 2 years plus as we traveled through the COVID times. You've all made it, survived. I haven't done any introductions yet today because I've been so busy getting everything ready. So I want to thank you for your patience. And this particular speaker gets me to introduce him because he's so special. You know, you don't every day get to introduce a celebrity like John Gray. So, it's with great pleasure to have somebody of his stature join us for more years than I can remember as a regular speaker and wonderful author. I mean, his books are all over the world in many languages, and we all know he's always writing something new and exciting, and what he shares tonight will be just what you need to hear. So be ready, relax, and enjoy John Gray.
Oh, I don't stand behind these things, but I'll stand over here, little stage. Hey, everybody. I'm happy to be here. I love this place, although I get the littlest audiences here. I don't know why. I think it's because I'm just a regular. So I'd like to get to know you a little bit. Who lives in Marin County? Okay, those are my neighbors. So nobody else is my neighbor here. I'm going to talk about some of my later books. Hey, Pete, good to see you. Who has read Men Are From Mars? That's what I wanted to know. That's it. All right, so we know each other. And who has read Beyond Mars and Venus, another book? Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about that and some other things. So I wrote Men Are From Mars back in 1992. I started teaching that in 1984. And I was super controversial then, and I'm more controversial now. We all know about how people get canceled. I'm kind of proud to say I was canceled in the year 2000. Men Are From Mars was rated the #1 biggest selling book in the world, and the USA Today said it was the most influential book, on the top 10 influential books. Everybody recognized me wherever I went, and in the universities, I was kicked out of Stanford and Harvard. I was a sexist, and still am, because I see that men and women are very different. And of course, as humans, we're all very similar. We all make mistakes. And we're also divine beings, because to human is to err, and to be divine is to learn from those lessons. Action. Integrate spirit into the world. And if you don't have free will, you can't make mistakes. So the idea of co-creating with God, the universal power, is if you make mistakes, then you suffer. You feel pain. And pain is our major motivator as human beings. And there's no greater place to feel pain that you can really do something about than marriage. Because you found somebody that actually loves you. So when you feel rejected and hurt, actually you're just living an illusion. We're just not happy people. We're not happy with what we got. And so many single people, they don't know how to have a relationship. It's just too painful. They don't know how to get out of the pain. So Buddha taught, the other day was Buddha's birthday, so I gave a talk on that day. I'm thinking about it now. Who has enjoyed some Buddhism in your life? I'm Christian, by the way, but I'm also Buddhist and Hindu and God, okay? So all those things. A wave on the ocean of God. And sometimes people are crazy because when they experience their wave on the ocean of God, they think they are God. And they're not wrong, but they're not right. Because they're just a little wave. It's like you're a plastic bottle with water in it. You're ocean. You're what the ocean is made out of. So when you fall in love, which is a very sweet thing, not that everybody has to fall in love, but I'm the expert on relationships, right? So that's what I'm going to talk about today. But when I was a yogi, I still am. I probably meditate average 6 hours a day. Most people don't know that I was a personal assistant to Maharishi of the TM movement. I was celibate for 9 years. I'm a big fan of celibacy. And then when I stopped being celibate, I was a big fan of sex. And I went around, had lots of girlfriends, saying, hey, I've been celibate for 9 years. Tell me what makes you happy. You have to teach me. So I had all these women teaching me. I would start out by reading their poem and then telling them I was a monk, and that was very intriguing. And because most men you're supposed to know, right? And women feel a little self-conscious about asking. But with me, they didn't. So I learned so many things that I thought, wow, I never knew this stuff. And I was very sexually active as a teenager, but it was all kind of just instinct. And now I was learning that women really are different from me. And I don't think anybody has a problem saying that men and women are different in the bedroom. So, bedroom, why are we not different outside the bedroom? And I would like to say, since our Supreme Court doesn't realize that what a woman is a woman is different from a man. All definitions is differentiation. And the way you understand what a woman is someone who is different from a man, although we all have 5 fingers, 2 eyes, mouth, heart, lung, all that, so many similarities. So why focus on the differences, people ask me? Because it's when somebody's different that we try to change them. That's it. Why can't we just let them be different? And so we're all like living in a society today where if you talk about differences, you're some kind of creep. You know, oh, so judgmental, so cruel. I said, look at my books. There's nothing judgmental in them at all. But it comes across that way because if I talk about women, many women will go, well, you make me feel bad because that doesn't describe me. And I say, well, read my book and be open-minded and you'll realize you don't know you either. Hard thing to say, right? But look at all the unhappy people. John Lennon lyric, maybe it is. All the lonely people. Now, I know that when you can't find love in a relationship, it's simply because nobody's taught you how to have a relationship. I remember a movie a long time ago where this guy was in love with a woman, but he said, I'm nothing. Why would she love me? Why would she love me? And it was the Sean 007 guy. Sean Connor. he said, you know, no matter how crummy you are, there's some woman that's going to love you. And he needed that little boost to go and because he felt unworthy. And that holds us back a lot in life. We feel unworthy. But often we don't admit it. You know, we get mad because people treat us in a way and we say, oh, I'm worthy, I'm more worthy. But actually, when you're ever angry or frustrated or bothered by something, you say, well, I deserve better. How dare you? Well, if you actually had self-esteem and you felt worthy, you go, what's your problem? And wouldn't have any reaction to you at all. This whole, I deserve, as if, what's happening here? Is it me? I touched the podium. See, that's the lesson. I don't know. Somebody's got to tell me it's me. That's it. I got goosebumps. That's your old talk. It's me. And in your relationship, when you have a problem, it's you. And it was a communication thing, too. That's my 5th guide setting that up for you all. So what did Buddha teach? Buddha said life is suffering. And then he said if you recognize your suffering, because most people don't know they're suffering. That's a very interesting thought. They don't really know they're suffering because what they do is when they start to suffer, they eat. Or if they're a man and you're suffering, you'll go masturbate. That's our biggest addiction today. Nobody talks about it, except the porn sites. It's what financed the whole internet, besides the CIA, who created it, to surveil all of you. And darn, I try not to get political, but why not? So I have this wonderful theory when I hear about the globalists and all that, and they want to say that we're going to take away your free will. Because see, if you're surveilled all the time, you have no free will. See, I can speed on the highway. Nobody's going to catch me as long as I'm clever. I was driving by somebody the other day. It has stickers saying, "My speed is monitored by GPS." It's pretty freaky, isn't it? That means that the big AI computer soon, if you have GPS, we all have GPS in our cars, it's built in. So that computer already, they just haven't launched it because they're slowly releasing this. They want to take away your free will. So you can't misbehave. How do we learn as children? We misbehave, and somebody forgives us for our mistakes, and we learn how to change. Free will, so important. So Buddha said, life is suffering. It's what it is. You can't change that. Life is suffering. But then he said there's a second noble truth. Is what's the cause of suffering? Me, you, exactly. When you get that you're causing all your suffering and nobody's doing it to you, then you can't change other people. You think you can. You can't. You can change you. So he said, when you realize that you're causing your suffering, then you have the power to change. Because when you're suffering, who wants to suffer? You know, if you're in pain, you'll let it go like a hot potato. Something is burning, you'll go, but you've got to feel it. Now, I've taught classes all around the world and everywhere, but probably very interesting on this subject is when I taught at San Quentin to a group of murderers and rapists and giant men. And they said, you can't go in there and say this stuff. Because I told them, you're all losers. You're the scum of the planet. You're dirt bags. I never want you at my house, that's for sure. And why did that happen? Because you've been treated that way. Because all my assistants were like, John, what are you saying? But they felt complimented by that because they got to blame it on somebody. And rightly so, because a child is formed by their parents. All of our misguided thinking that puts us into suffering, we absorb from our parents. So we can blame them, but really it's not their fault because it was their parents. And it's not their fault because it was their parents. Because for the first 7 years of life, this is something interesting. You know, we know all these brain states, alpha waves and theta waves and gamma waves and beta states. You know, measure the frequencies in your brain. They're rough ideas, but to a child up to 7 years old, they're in theta all the time. And theta is dream state. They're just dreaming. And it's also the same state if you go into hypnosis. You know, some people are very suggestible because they go into theta much easier. Other people who can't do anything with them as a hypnotist. So they work the audience to see who are the people they can work with who are open to suggestion. Nothing wrong with them. Some people are more open to it than others. Some people go into theta more than others. Maybe some people are just more connected to the inner child. Or maybe they're just more childish. You know, what did Jesus say? You know, the inner kingdom of heaven, you need to be like a child, but not childish. What's the quality of a child? That's your real self. Happy. Ignorant, yes. They have no idea who they are. Your parents tell you who you are. You look in the mirror of them. I looked in the mirror today and I brushed my hair. I must be somewhat orderly. So how would I know if I don't have someone telling me? I just don't know. We do it every day. You dress, you look at yourself. And of course, some of us look at ourselves and go, I look pretty good. 70 years old, still got some hair. I can still do some yoga with my belly. You know, this is, we all do that. We're all looking at ourselves, but we don't always like what we see. And that's okay. That's our lesson to learn, is to love ourselves. And why do we have to learn that lesson? Because nobody knows that you're lovable. Because how do we first learn ourselves? By how people look at us when we're children. And it's very confusing. I want to talk a little bit about, well, let me finish with Buddha here for a second. So you're suffering, and so most of us just do all kinds of things to get out of our suffering. And Just heard my name. You know, I would love some water. I wasn't prepared. Pete, do you have some water for me?
I have organic kefir.
Anybody got water?
It's good stuff.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thought I was going to get some COVID germs, but you gave me a pure bottle. Thank you. So I'm just going with the flow here. I'll say some really good things. But we already know the biggest thing in this talk, when I got my chills, is why is this breaking down? Me. Every time you have a problem in your relationship, who's responsible? And your partner. Yeah, right. And your partner. You're both. But can you change them? We think we can, but you're right. We can't change them. But you know what we can do? If we open our hearts, we can bring out the best in them, if we know how to do it. And this is a very interesting thing. You have to know how to do it. You know, there's this thing about love and light. I always say, God, come into this room and fill everybody with love and light. Use this presentation to transform their lives. Right now. Fifth dimensional angels, guides, all the universe. They were just here in the last talk, so I'm calling them in. Okay. We get extra because there's more people here, So please let this talk provide exactly what everybody needs. Let it change their life. Let them experience more of who they truly are. And who are we truly? Well, I do a little exercise every day, which is whenever I'm angry, I call this emotional intelligence. I go, okay, anger is actually pain. Most people don't realize that. It's painful to feel anger. Now, it's less painful if we want to be angry. Some people really want to be angry. I'm not exempt. I remember once with I have 3 daughters, but one of the little daughters was complaining about her nursery school teacher, and I'm ready to fight a war, as parents are these days. And the grandmother has come over to visit. And she says, John, you're just too protective here. She's got to learn. The world's not as nice as you. And I was really angry. How dare you say that to me? So I displaced all my anger at this teacher on this poor lady. And I sucked it up because I've learned. Another lesson in this class is that masculinity becomes femininity when you express anger. I bet none of you ever thought of that. I didn't think of it either until I read it in a research study. And that we all think that high testosterone causes anger. Well, high testosterone precedes it from the point of view of there's a big problem to solve here. There's danger. My testosterone will go up. And why that's significant, men? Because if you want to have a great sex life at 70 or 80, but I'm just 70, you need to have healthy testosterone. And right now, the average 20-year-old has 20% less testosterone than 20 years ago. 40% less than I was growing up. This is insane. Everybody, when we look at averages, not this man right here, because he's listening to me. So this is a huge phenomena today. And one of the reasons for it is I'm drinking this water. How many of you knew that? I know you knew it, and you knew it, you knew it. But plastic. Remember that movie a long time ago? We're having a party back in the 60s, and he says, what's happening is plastics. Plastics are going to take over the world. Who remembers that movie? The Graduate. Plastics. That's all I remembered as a teenager being seduced by an old woman. Older woman. And plastics. But they go opposite. Plastics will keep you from ever being seduced. It's called an endocrine hormonal disruptor. And everybody's drinking bottled water. If it's not glass, you're getting hormone disruptors. And these hormone disruptors, they measure the more extreme when frogs are exposed to the same thing that's in here, hormone disruptors from pesticides. They do the same thing. Gets in the water, and the male frogs have vaginas, little tiny penises. And this is a phenomenon that's happening today. It's called gender dysphoria. I don't know what sex I am. I wasn't going to talk about that, so I'm not going to talk much about it, okay? But I will say a little piece of information. The time in your life when you can actually begin thinking about sex and your sexual identity occurs at puberty. That's 13, 14 years old. For a little boy, that's when his testosterone increases 10 times. And that's when a girl's estrogen dramatically goes up. I don't know how many times, but when she has her period. These are massive, massive hormonal changes at puberty. And to try to identify what sex you are before that is just a conditioned response. Whatever rebellious feeling you have, or whatever your mother wants you to be, would like you to be. Or if your mother doesn't like your father, well, I'll just not be like my father. A lot of conditioning goes into all of us. That's what we have to get. We don't know ourselves, and we truly can't know who we are in terms of, as Ramana Maharshi, who knows who that is? He's a good guy. His whole thing, one of his whole meditations was just self-analysis. Who am I? Who am I? So now we're asking children to do it. Who am I? They don't know who they are. Whatever they think is like, just because I think who I am, it's natural. This is just who I am naturally. Well, it's natural for me to sit in front of a tub of vanilla ice cream and eat the whole thing. It's natural if I've taken cocaine, all I never have, to say, this is really good. I like this, until you get the side effects of it later. So we don't know what natural is. Often what feels good is not good for you. That's another thing. If you look in Hinduism, I lived there for a long time. Hindu monk, 9 years. So celibate, never masturbated, never ejaculated for 9 years. You know what happens then? You're walking around in God consciousness. Every woman is an angel that you want to have sex with. Amazing state. Just for fun, I shared that. I hope it's not offensive to anybody. Raise your hand if it was offensive. Okay, you can go. Please go. This is dirty talk. So Buddha said is that if you're suffering, who's causing it? That's the cause, you. And when you look at you are the cause, then you can change and you get what's called freedom, release. You can let go of the suffering. And when you let go of the suffering and you get good at that, then whenever you are suffering, you can get very quickly back to, I'm not suffering again. And that's the reality. As long as you're held down by gratitude, grounded with gratitude, as long as the gravity is not holding you to the ground, then you're suffering to some extent. It doesn't happen all the time. I also studied Qigong for 10 years in China. And I'm going to share some of that energy with you tonight. It's your energy, it's God's energy, but I love doing it myself. I can't teach this so much when people pay me to talk about relationships. But actually, I'm a heavy-duty meditator and Qigong master, according to Chinese masters. And I like to share that. I was doing a podcast the other day, and they said, John, he wanted to ask questions about my past and meditation. I talked about it. He said, why don't you teach this? I said, because we teach what we need to learn. And I didn't need to learn it. That's after 9 years of celibacy. I walked out of there totally enlightened, thought it was enlightened, and God consciousness, and unity consciousness. I said, my experience was, everybody's enlightened. They just don't know it. Don't you get it? You're enlightened. I was like a little crazy. That's people in the mental hospitals, many of them are Jesus. Because they identify with Jesus, and they feel one with Jesus. That's a high state of consciousness. It's a little crazy, like when I said, I'm just a little bottle of water here, but water is God. And if you know the water, then you have to finally figure out, oh, I'm not just that. That's inside of me. And then you realize that, okay, then who am I? Nobody. That's what Ramana Maharshi would teach, is the experience of selflessness, no self. In India, it's called neti neti. See, there's all these different stages, different kinds of enlightenment that people will have. Because I thought I had it at 28. My guru declared, you are Brahman consciousness. He talked about levels. And he said I would be the person who took over the TM movement. That was my last conversation with him. It's kind of like I graduated. I got on an airplane, didn't know what I was going to do, followed my heart. And here I am, the personal assistant to Maharishi, leaving. I didn't know what to do. I just knew I didn't want to talk to him because then I'd want to do what he says, because I would do anything he said before. I was in a cult. Nice cult. Some of you, I invite you to join the John Gray cult for 3 months. And the one thing I teach in the John Gray cult is, if you're in a relationship, that whenever there starts to be a little escalation, because that's what happens in marriages, you start arguing. Usually it looks like this. In Men Are From Mars, I talk of the anatomy of an argument. Woman's upset about something. Man explains to her, you shouldn't be upset about that. You're overreacting. That didn't happen. What do you say? I don't love you. Are you kidding? I've changed. Well, so have you. So we argue. That's what we do. Men are logical. And women can be logical too, but the male side of us is the logical side of us. And when she's emotional, she's emotional. Now, there's logic and there's emotion. Nothing wrong with either side. When I married Bonnie, I told her, oh my gosh, I feel like my life was black and white till I married you. You give such color to my life. Depth, beauty, creating a home, flowers. I go on little walks with her, and she said, oh, look at the little flower. I said, oh, I didn't even see that. Today, my daughter, one of my daughters, gave me a tour of her garden. She's like, a mother was a gardener. Bonnie passed 4 years ago of cancer, which was a big, big nut for me to process, I'll tell you. I've never suffered so much in my life. My father was found dead in the trunk of his car when I was on my honeymoon with Bonnie. My brother committed suicide. A lot of things happened in my life, and our first 10 years of our marriage was a funeral every year. It was like, so I'm expert on grieving. But every time I learned how to grieve and process and let go of the causes of pain. You let go of it. You become a better person. And this sounds kind of weird. I've never been happier in my life. But 4 years ago was the worst experience of my life. A good 2 years of heavy-duty grieving. And then I was back to sex. Nothing wrong with that. So I have a girlfriend now, and I was having dinner with one of my friends who was she's a best-selling author and another best-selling author, and she teaches about love. And so I was at the table with my partner was saying, John is just the most amazing man I've ever met. He is like a spiritual God. And I feel so humble in his presence. He is amazing. So she's saying all this great stuff from her heart about me. And my friend, she's going, oh, no. You're equal. You're the same. He can't be higher than you. You are so good too. You're so good too. You're so good. And she says, you don't understand. I'm not as good as this guy. He never gets angry. He hears me. He feels tears when I'm upset. Tears come to his eyes. And I'm happy again. Because I can suck out the pain of anybody. See, that's when you're really connected. But that took me, 50 years meditator and compassion guy and therapist and teacher and all that. It's so sweet. Because whenever she's upset about something, if I can actually feel what she's feeling, and a little tear comes to my eyes. I'm not feeling about me, I'm just feeling about her. It's like the one that happened recently was, she said, I'm just getting older, I don't feel beautiful. Oh, honey, You are so, tear come to my eyes. Sweetie, you are the most beautiful woman in the world. She goes, no, I am. Oh, no. See, I need glasses. That's just a joke, yeah. But see, if I can feel her pain, she gets a relief. See, that's the whole, another Buddha teaching was compassion. When you feel compassion for other people's pain. So what are you experiencing there? That's unity consciousness. That's the oneness we all talk about. And how can you experience that oneness if you're not in a relationship where somebody's going to be that intimate with you, where they blame you? See, that's the real enlightenment. Open your heart and have them blame you. Have them be ignorant. Have them be like an animal for a little while. But you know, the benefit of that is you get to see the animal inside of you, how you react. That's the whole thing. Be in a situation that triggers you, the deepest parts of you, and you can't access, generally speaking, I don't want to say, nothing I say is absolute, it's just my experience, but you access the deepest parts of you that need to be healed. Is that little baby boy came out into the world and doesn't feel good enough, comparing himself to his brothers, not making A+ on the test, not as tall as other guys, feeling powerless. We all had that in different degrees. And that just gets buried in there. Well, I started therapy with somebody the other day, and I said, so tell me about the pain in your childhood. He says, there wasn't any pain in my childhood, pretty much standard childhood. It will take a few sessions. But extreme reactions and reactivity in his relationships, because they're not even aware of the ignorance that we carry around with us. There's never anything to be upset about. Just take that in for a moment. You know, there's a great phrase that somebody else thought of, which is FEAR. What does it mean? What do they say? FEAR. False evidence appearing real. False information. That's where we live in now. Fear everywhere. What's true? All you can know is if you're afraid, you're not believing the truth. You're not believing the truth. You're lying to yourself because you're believing the lies of other people. So it's a horrible world right now. Horrible, crazy, upside down. I liken that. How many of you saw Hamilton? Remember that moment when they said, the world is upside down? It's amazing a moment there. That's when it became America. The world is turned upside down. Freedom. Well, the world's back to what it was. We have to turn it back up. So you can really, because I hear all this stuff, I get it all. Globalists and Klaus Schwab and all that crazy stuff. And you think, oh my God, this is terrible. It is terrible. And people have to suffer to wake up to not believing people who are liars. And the only way you know that is to know yourself. And how do you know yourself? Know that you're suffering. And in the suffering, this is where Buddha didn't teach this. People weren't sophisticated enough. They didn't have a consciousness enough to be aware of their emotions. They were emotional, but they weren't aware of the depth of their emotions or where they came from. They didn't take high consciousness, which you all have. You wouldn't be here. So who has ever been really angry? Ever been really angry? Okay. So you've been really angry. So you're so angry. I'm really embarrassed because I was doing a video the other day and I got angry. It's like, whoa, what's happening here? Immediately smiled and let it go. Because see, maybe even a measure of your own enlightenment is when you're upset, you feel it, and how quickly can you come back to being you and believing the truth, that you're safe. So that, forgetting false evidence appearing real, that's somebody else's idea, so it's hard for me to remember other people's ideas when I'm just being me. So my phrase is fear, F-E-A-R, is forgetting everything's all right. Forgetting everything's all right. Even when my wife died, and I'm grieving and going through horrible emotions, at the same time, because of a lifetime of doing this work, I also celebrated that she's graduated. You know, if you had a really painful knee and somebody healed it, how are you going to feel? Happy. Oh, no more pain. Well, she was out of pain. And because of my connection with the universe, and many of you know we're always alive. More alive on the other side. But we suffer here on this planet to learn to go into conscious co-creation with the divine. And you go into conscious co-creation and divine through free will. Angels don't have free will. They're always doing the right thing. They just follow the rules. And these people, they want to take you away from your free will. They even say it. Their high priest of Klaus Schwab, he says, yeah, you'll have no free will. We're putting implants in you. We'll recondition you to always follow the rules and do what we say. You won't own anything, but you'll be happy. We're going to take away all your unhappiness. They also say we're going to kill 80% of you because you're too hard to handle. Instead of realizing, my gosh, if you've ever flown over this country, you see this country is so big, there's plenty of room for everybody, more. Triple it, 10 times what we have now. That's an illusion. We have to cut down the population. What we need is to respect the population. If you actually had free energy off the Earth's magnetic field, and I've seen that, I know guys that do it, who the government says, you can't do it or we'll kill you. That's real. And I can only believe it because I read about it, whatever. Then I go and find some of these guys and actually get demonstrations of free energy off of the frequencies of the planet. I mean, I have free energy. I can go 30 days without eating. Easy. If I'm meditating the whole time. One day I will do that whole breathless, lifeless, foodless thing. I just like food a lot. Okay? But it doesn't have to be bad food. Like right now I got a little bit extra belly, so I'm only eating, mung dal and rice. That's mostly what I ate as a monk. Really good, powerful protein, carb, really nice balance. Start losing weight right away if you're overweight. Put a lot of butter on it. It's really delicious. It's called khichdi. And in India, when somebody's sick, they eat only khichdi because it's so easy to digest. Half the room has digestive issues. It's all over the place because of what we put in our bodies. So I'll drink some more of this water. And there you know, khichdi. Can you spell it? Yeah, I agree. Who heard of khichdi before? Yeah, I've got yogis in the room. It's like the food, super easy to digest, very satisfying. You put some salt on it and some butter on it. Ah, delicious. Now you might think that John's just all over the place. I think that. But so are you. There's a lot of people here. And so I'm handling every one of you. And what I know to be the case, here's a little story from Gandhi. A mother came to Gandhi and said, Gandhi, my son, he's always eating sweets, gulab jamun. He can't stop eating gulab jamun. Who knows gulab jamun? Well, I couldn't stop either. That's pretty good stuff. Pure sugar syrup. Just the most delicious if you're a sweet tongue. She said, can you tell him not to eat sugar? Who's heard this story? Just curious. Oh, good. So Gandhi says, yes. She says, bad for his teeth. Bad for his teeth. Terrible. That's all people would think about sugar back in those days. So Gandhi says, yes, I can do that. Come back in 2 months. And the mother comes back in 2 months, and Gandhi says, so you like gulab jamun? Yes, I like gulab jamun too. But it's bad for your teeth. So only on birthdays and parties can you have gulab jamun. And the little boy says, okay. And the mother says, Gandhi, why did it take you 2 months to say that? Who knows the answer? Yeah, say it.
He had to stop eating it himself.
He had to stop doing it himself. If somebody tells you the truth about what they're doing and it's good for you, you can do it. If somebody says it's good for you and they don't do it, it actually keeps you from being able to do it. See, whenever you believe a lie, because somebody's saying this is really good for you, and then they don't do it, if you believe a lie, what time are we getting a talk? What? till I'm done? No. This is
No, it's an hour and a half.
hour and a half. It's an hour and a half. And I can go late if I want. Okay. The boss gave me permission, See, this was what's called transmission. All the yogis, she was a lady up here doing, I'm going to give you some Shakti pot, whatever. You're getting transmission all the time by the people you affiliate with, by what you put your attention on. Like, if I had a screen, I'd play you a 5-minute video of my daughter's garden. It's actually heaven. She expresses her love for her mother my wife was the ultimate gardener as well. It's nice when you have a husband that makes a lot of money so you can spend time in the garden. Too bad, women. You blew it. You took all the jobs. Just want to toss that in there. It's really a nice thing. If you have a guy that can actually provide for you, then when you get older, as your children grow up, they get into school, you can go have a job. But it's a job where you don't worry about how much you make. Now, the globalists, they want to all pay for all your money. That's what they want to do. They want to crash the economy. They're going to try. It's not going to happen. They're going to crash the economy, and they're going to starve you. Already, they're blowing up the food processing places. It's like, this is so right in front of you. It's just like happening. And there'll be another crash in money, and there'll be people starving and needing food. Remember, even the last time, they were all like lined up for miles. Give me food, give me food, give me food. All I did is stocked up on, what do you think? Kitchery. Rice and beans, that's it. No problem with that. And lots of meditation. And I hope the plumbing lasts. I like baths. For people who like to do meditation a little longer, one of the reasons people will get tired in meditation is, if your energy wants to flow straight up and your back's just not strong enough. Now, as a young guy, I could do that like 18 hours easy. Sitting in the lotus. It was like sex, okay? People say, how could you do that for so long? You have to understand. When the universe actually my body would move like this, okay? Or my hands would move like this. A little bit like that japa thing. You got to be doing something. But now I don't have to do anything. But my back, after about 3 or 4 hours, will get like, oh, I want to just lie back. But then I sit in the bathtub. The bathtub will support you. So if you want, you can go longer meditations there. And some people go, why meditate so long? I'm busy making money. Okay, that's good. Everybody find their balance. Do what you like. Do what you love. But make money. It's very important for men to make money. Because when you make money, you feel tangible. Not how much money you make, that I made money. When you do something and somebody gives you money, in our collective consciousness, that means they valued what you did. And for men, our self-esteem primarily comes from what we do. And a woman's primarily self-esteem comes from what other people do for you. See, masculine power, we have a male and female side, right? I said this talk's on male and female hormones, so I'll talk a little bit. That's what Beyond Mars and Venus is all about. It used to be that men had this high testosterone levels and women had these high estrogen levels. And they could easily get pregnant. Now about 40% of women, maybe 50% of women can't get pregnant unless somebody gives them hormones. And even then, it's questionable. We don't really understand this because so many women take hormones to get pregnant. And so many little boys come out with high estrogen and girls come out with high testosterone. So we're messing with people's hormones. Now, I'm not a big fan of taking hormones. I know that people have done it, and some people it really worked well for them, so they could afford a good doctor who can keep it balanced. But Beyond Mars and Venus is teaching us the importance of doing certain things to stimulate male hormones and certain things to stimulate female hormones. So when women complain, what happens is if somebody doesn't empathize with you, you feel, first of all, talking about problems increases estrogen. Solving problems creates testosterone. So what's the big thing that happens in relationships? Women start talking about some problems. Guys solve those problems in a way that doesn't feel like the solution she wants. Because primarily what women need today, more than clean house, more money, whatever, they need to feel happy. And it turns out that if a woman complains about a problem and you don't complain back, in a short period of time, that will make a lot of estrogen in her. And that estrogen will lower her stress levels, and then there's nothing to complain about. This is very interesting. Also, that same woman at the table, I'm remembering a story with her where I told her, you need to give up complaining. And it's just going to bring him down. It knocks his testosterone down. No complaints, your testosterone goes up. Complaining, testosterone goes down. Now, I don't want to say all women are big complainers, except that they pay me a lot of money to complain. That's what therapy is for a lot of people. Now, I don't just let them complain. I don't really like a lot of therapy that's being taught today. I think it makes people worse if you just sit and listen to somebody complain and validate. This is the big word. This is a safe room to talk. Now, first of all, for couples, I'm not saying all therapists do this, but most do. They say, this is a safe space. What's safe about it? She starts complaining, and then the therapist says to him, so how does that make you feel? I better not say. No, this is a safe place. You can express what you feel here. Well, what I feel is total overreaction. That didn't happen. She's being a bitch. Is that safe? And that's only a short version of it. If he listened to her for more than 10 minutes, it's going to be more coming out of him. We went once, Bonnie and I, and they said, oh, just what are you feeling, John? I said, I'm thinking about what she said. I don't think I should say what I'm feeling. He said, no, talk. So I expressed what I felt. She goes, see, he doesn't love me, and left the room. So rarely do I bring couples together in the same room. I like them in separate sessions. So amazing to hear her story, leaves out everything she did wrong. To hear his story, totally reasonable, but doesn't take into consideration about how that affected her. I was once on a cruise, and some woman had to be taken off, because she and her husband were drinking too much, and then they got violent. She got violent, and they kicked her off the boat. And everybody's thinking, oh, what a bitch, And I met that guy for 2 minutes, and I realized, she's not the bitch, you're an asshole. Because he's basically saying she's crazy, she's a bitch, everything she says doesn't make any sense. Well, he drove her to crazy. See, keep in mind that men are assholes. And if you don't believe me, too bad, you missed the boat, you didn't take S training. See, at S training, they convince all of you that you're an asshole. And you are. You got one here, right? So that means when you're not loving and when you're in your primitive self, automatic, basically. But that's not a bad thing, although it's not like I tell people to say these things to each other. But in private sessions, I say it to them. I love just building a man's trust and then say, you're really an asshole. And he kind of goes, yeah, I am. You're such a bully. Yeah, I do bully a bit. I can see that. But he can't hear it. He can't hear it until he feels appreciated, accepted just the way he is, and someone sees him as a good guy doing his best. That's what I can do. Easy, because I'm a guy. I understand all his feelings. I can immediately validate just by going, I know where you're coming from. And you're such an asshole with no judgment. Just that's what you are. And you're heartless. Every man knows that you shut down at times. A woman says things, get upset, you get in a big argument, and you go off to your cave. You're cruel. You're mean. Yeah, you don't feel that way, maybe. But that's how she feels. What happened to the guy who was open-hearted to me and cares about me and suddenly shuts down? Her experience is you're cruel and heartless. Because you are in that moment. Not all the time, but you're heartless. You're actually in the state of fight or flight. When you're in the state of fight or flight, mostly happens when you're in a relationship. Because I only make money so I can provide for my family primarily. I'm a monk. I don't care about money that much. But I want my children and my wife to have a beautiful life. And when I can do that, it makes me feel so good. And it gives my life meaning. Meaning. See, the ultimate of masculinity is completely selfless. This is not about me. This is about providing something of value to others, and that gives your life meaning. Sometimes I have men and they're depressed. I said, "Go, you have any meaning?" He said, I don't have any meaning. Go out and feed somebody. Go do something for someone. Go stand in one of those lines. I also say that to women. Marin County women, this is their problems. Oh, we're going to Europe where we have another apartment in Paris. And I have 3 nannies, but one of them got sick. I don't know what I'm going to do. And I could elaborate more. But that's the problem, first world problem. It's just as real as I can't find food for my family, because all those problems are how we react to life stresses. And when we react to life stresses, that's the only thing we have control over, is how am I reacting to what's happening around me. So back to this horrible world, I could go into fear, but I know that I've had suffering in my life, huge. When I was a little boy, my brothers were so jealous of me. I was the number 5 boy, and my mother just loved me so much I didn't realize it until later. And she said, Johnny just makes him love you more. My brothers missed out. But they took it out on me. They buried me under the ground. They threw me into a fire. They dropped me upside down, crashed my chin, blood here, blood spiking out the top of my head. I got it from my brothers. My mother loved me so much. And by the time I came along, my mother convinced my father that whipping the boys wasn't a good idea. Because in Texas, you whip boys. In Mexico, you whip them. Of course you whip them. They chop into shape. My mother would say, "If you don't listen to me, I'm telling your father." And we didn't listen to her. A few times we didn't. Dad said, "Okay, bend over, pull down your pants." Pull out his belt. You learned your lesson. So my mother, one of them ended up in jail and other things, military school. So my mother finally convinced my dad, maybe this whipping thing isn't a good idea. So let's try an experiment with John. So I would go up to the bedroom and my father would say, "Okay, bend over." And he'd whip the chair. Make a noise. Whip the chair. My brothers figured that one out real quick. So they punished me. They all turned against me. It wasn't fair. Unfair punishment. Well, we see a little bit of that in the world too, don't we? People feel upset about it. So what's all this negativity about? Well, Buddha would say life is suffering, but you can get free of it. And that's what meditation is. That's what good lifestyle is. That's what generosity is. He called it the middle path. Just be a good person. And how to do that. Meditation was a big part of that. And for me, very important part of it. Because the most powerful way, in my experience, of rebuilding testosterone in a man is to stop talking and forget your problems. Now think about it, men. When a woman's upset, all getting emotional, upset, what do you say to her? Can't you just forget it? Can't you just let it go? No, she can't. Her brain's designed to be heard. And his brain's designed to forget everything. How many women have felt your husband just doesn't remember enough? He's always forgetting stuff. Oh, just one. Give me a break. I want to see hands. Okay? How many sometimes you're frustrated? He said he's going to do something. He forgets to do it. He forgets to do it. Say it again. I want to see how. There's comfort in numbers here, Just give the guys a break. Very, very common. And you probably wonder, how could he forget that? Yeah, you know that one. How could he forget that? It's our anniversary. He forgot my birthday. Well, you didn't tell him, did you? Because actually the hippocampus in a man's brain is about half the size of a woman's. That's the memory, emotional memory. She has an emotional memory that's so big it's like a library. On the ground floor, it's all the good things in the relationship. And on the second floor, it's all your flaws and mistakes. And when she's happy, no stress reaction going on, She walks around the library and thinks, I'm just so lucky. I married this guy. He's so great. My life is wonderful. Look at those flowers. Oh, my children so beautiful. All this. She's in a happy mood. She's on the ground floor. Nothing to think about that's bad. As soon as her body's cortisol gets produced, she gets in the elevator and goes to the second floor. And that's all she can see. He didn't do this. He didn't do this. He did that. She'll go back all the way to the beginning, to your first mistake. It's all right there. She can't see the positive. Now, this is all biological. If you're having a stress response, cortisol response, your the right prefrontal cortex becomes dominant, and all you can do is see negativity. You become pessimistic. You see what's wrong, what's wrong, what's wrong. Our left one, when you're not stressed, your left one is optimistic. And you need both. You need to know there's suffering and there's problems and there's this and they need me. All of us, we're needed. And what's most needed in us is faith and positivity and love and selflessness and service and not spreading negativity, but believing something good's going to come of all this crazy stuff. On one side, they say it's the big reset, and the other side says it's the Great Awakening. It's the Great Awakening. We've all been believing lies. But you have to suffer to get that, and you have to stop blaming others and come back to yourself. And it's so easy. It's easier when you have the skills. And also easier when you know that I'm upset with my partner. I'm doing this to myself, not them. At least have the intellectual concept. Next thing you have to do, that's your higher self. Then you have to bring that knowledge, awareness, because your higher self always knows you're responsible for everything, whether you're conscious of it or not. That's your higher self, okay? How can I change me to get a different result? I mean, you want to make more money, you have to change you. You want to have more love in your life, you have to change you. Only a new seed creates a new crop, and you're constantly doing it. And you're motivated to do it, because we all say, oh, tomorrow I'm going to lose weight, then you don't. Tomorrow I'm going to do this, and then you don't. We procrastinate. Any procrastinators here? I think that's the one most people relate to. I couldn't believe how many haters there are, but there are now, the pandemic of the unvaccinated. Those horrible people have no heart at all. They're dangerous, terrible people. Okay. I'm an unvaccinated, so I have a bias here, but thank God for people who care and they love each other, and except for us. If we could all just be like them, we'd all be lulled into sleep. Okay, give up our free will. Don't you get this? This mask, we're forced to see, I'm wearing a mask. It's such a metaphor for life. All that goes on inside of us in our lives. If we're not happy, if we're not proud, if we're not grateful, if we're not hopeful and positive, that's not you. It's just not you. That's who your true self is. And in relationships, you want to be attractive to your partner, be your true self. A lot of people think, oh, I'm authentic, I'm going to tell you everything I feel. You're just not good enough. That's your pollution. That's your private time in the bathroom. Your partner's not invited to that. That's your time to process your feelings. So if you're angry, I said this before, I didn't finish that thought. Now I'm going to try to finish a lot of stories here. See, there's empty seats. I get scattered into emptiness here. So the anger, if somebody's really angry and you say to them, oh, I understand you're really afraid. What are they going to say? I'm not afraid, I'm angry. That's called lack of emotional intelligence. And it would be inappropriate for me to invalidate what they're feeling in that moment. But always, and this is a really big idea, anytime you're suffering, you're believing a lie, first of all. You're blaming out. You're disconnected from your ability to change. But often you don't know how to change. So give ourselves a break. So there's something called emotional intelligence. Gender intelligence is the Mars-Venus stuff. Emotional intelligence is whenever I'm upset, it's my fault. But I didn't know better, so I'm not guilty. But I take responsibility. I'm not a bad person, just like everybody else. To err is human. Divine is to be aware you made a mistake and commit to change. You know, when Bonnie died, 2 years, could not sleep. Sometimes I'd sleep, but sleepless nights, so much pain and guilt inside of me. Because I felt if I'd just been a better husband, maybe she wouldn't have died. Even another part of me says that was her destiny, God's hand, she loves, all that. That's one part, But another part is huge amount of sadness, hurt, mainly loss, anger at the doctors. They did some mistakes on her. I don't want to get into that, but the fear that if I'd been afraid, I contributed to her suffering. So it came up inside of me. It's every single time we ever had an argument. And now, keep this in the context of, if you asked her what kind of husband John would say, she'd say he's a perfect father, and I love him, and he tries. She once said that to an audience. I told everybody, see, that's the formula of a long-lasting marriage, men. Just try. She'll love you. You don't have to be perfect. But I went over every single little, it just all came back to me. So I could look at that and say to her, sweetheart, I'm so sorry. Now I know I could have done this. Now I know I could have done that. And I'm committed to being that person now. And it's so wonderful in my life to learn all those lessons and then follow through. That's why I so much understand how pain is so important of learning our lessons. And then all the other ones too along the way. All right, so when you're angry, if that's an emotion you feel most easily, you're also afraid. And it's like riding a bicycle. If you start to tip this direction, how do you find balance? You tip the other direction. So the tough guy who's so angry, he needs to come back, what am I afraid of? And usually the guy who's arguing with his wife, he's afraid she'll think he's less than. He's afraid she won't love him. He's afraid that I'm not good enough. So he wants to prove, see, I'm right. I'm afraid of being wrong or not perfect in your presence. And what's behind that fear is a strong desire of, I want you to love me. I need you to love me. See the different emotion. Sweetheart, please love me. That's all the way back to the little child inside. Remember I talk about that? All of us, I dress, I want you to love me. I make my jokes, I tell my stories. I want to help you too, but I want you to like me. Why not? Feels good. And if somebody doesn't, well, that's their problem, because I know I'm quite an amazing guy. That was one of Bonnie's problems with me. You're so arrogant. So you have to realize I've come down quite a bit. When you know that you're God, things happen, right? So, but then when you know you're God, when you open up, a lot of spiritual people, this happens to them, then everything that's unlike God inside of you comes out. Everything that says, I'm not worthy of love, I'm not good enough, I'm a failure, I should have done, I would have done, I could have done, all that stuff. It's only when you're feeling really open, it comes up. That's why you see lottery winners, about a year later, they're broke again. Divorces happen. Look at the movie stars. The one people I would never counsel, although I was asked a lot, was movie stars. You can't help them. They're beyond. See, imagine how everybody's doing things for them all the time. They say this, people run and jump, people adore them, love them, whatever. Well, it's like the Dalai Lama, he shakes your hand and people go, oh my God, he shook my hand. Imagine if everybody, you shake somebody, oh my God, he shook my hand, he looked at me. You get that kind of attention. Dalai Lama holds it well. So I'm not talking to him, but that's the issue I'm saying, is that these movie stars, they're getting so much love, or they have so much money. I'm the same, Bill Gates is younger than me. And he is so old looking. He literally looks like a devil. You're all going to get vaccinated. Yeah, we're going to take over the whole world. Love that Bill Gates. He's such a philanthropist. Yeah, he's so good. He's done so much good for the world. I love my little grandchildren who go to school. Oh, Bill Gates, he's so amazing. He's like the best person in the world. I go, yes, he's so good. He's so good. They can't handle InfoWars, okay? You don't let your kids watch InfoWars. But please, go to InfoWars, get the sticker, and put it on your car, okay? Please, although I haven't done that yet. I'm a little afraid to, because everybody knows me. Wherever I go, you're John Gray. So it's a little tricky. I don't need to get in arguments and fights. because some people hate you if you watch InfoWars. You can't watch too much of it. But what allows me to see what's bad in the world, just like in relationships, is we're creating this mess so we can learn our lessons. And if you want to look in terms of biblical terms, just another way of looking at the truth, the devil exists. Satan exists. It's real. There's really bad people in this world. And there's really good people in this world like you. And many of you are so good you can't even imagine evil. You can't imagine evil. That was a lesson I had to learn because I can't imagine wanting to hurt somebody. Can't even get there. Really tough to get there until you start counseling murderers. And you see that, like one man, he's a murderer and rapist. No compassion. You see, they can't get out of themselves. When you have pain, if you can't feel that pain, the only way you can feel it is to put it on somebody else. And then you can feel your pain, you get a little relief. See, that's what all communication is. It's what's over here, I want to experience over there. I want you to, I say, good idea. How many people love this seminar so far? Let me know. See, oh God, this feels so great. The mirror says, I did a good job tonight, okay? So it was good, okay. And I want you to tell you something. Whenever you go to a concert or whatever, or you go hear a talk, if you're moved by that, tell that person. People always say to me, oh, I know you already know this. I say, yeah, but it's kind of like, yeah, my wife could say, I want to have sex with you. I said, well, I know that, but I'd rather have sex. It's actually getting the experience of someone saying that to you. And often we think it's not necessary, just like in our marriages. It's so important to tell our wives, you're so beautiful. I love you so much. They need to hear it. They're not going to say, do you think I'm beautiful? They're waiting for you to say, you're beautiful. Or that outfit looks so beautiful. Oh, you got your hair done. Looks great. And if it doesn't, don't say that. I remember when Bonnie turned 40, and she was saying, I just feel so fat. I said, what do you mean, honey? She says, look, you see that? That's cellulite. You see that? I said, what? I don't see anything. She said, you look at that. Look at that. Can you be turned on to that? Oh, honey, I see you. I'm totally turned on to you. You're my lovely wife. I love you more than anybody else in the world, and you're beautiful. How beautiful? You can't think that's beautiful. She's arguing with me. That means she needs to hear the truth. And the truth is, I could be logical. Well, there's some movie stars that look really hotter than you, honey. I mean, you're not like you were when you're 30. Things have changed. Or some guys will say, well, I get that you're fat. You can always work out. I see you eating ice cream all the time. What do you think? It's just... Certain things you don't say. You give reassurance. You express love. And that's emotion. Emotion's not always logical. We have to realize, men, the only logical thing to do or say when a woman is upset, I'm changing the subject slightly, she's going to be upset about something. She's complaining about something. And as soon as you go to logic, you die. It's over. Don't use logic. Just say 3 things. Tell me more. If you're a Superman, you want to be like those guys in the movies, pow, 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 and they hit each other and knock each other over. We did that in boot camp. They make you stand at attention, listen to what I say as I abuse you verbally. Give me attitude, you'll get 50 push-ups. I don't believe in boot camp like that anymore. I believe in marriage. Women are going to be irrational sometimes. And if they're not, you're not having orgasms. See, what causes an orgasm with a woman has 20 times the estrogen of a man. 20 times the estrogen of a man is bordering on crazy. It is. Just pure emotion. They can go on and on and on. And then after you hear them, then if they feel heard, oxytocin gets produced, testosterone goes down, estrogen starts to go up in a balance. And then she forgets all the bad stuff you've done for a few days. Then when she's stressed, it comes back. And guys will think, we already been through this, haven't we? I thought I solved your problem. No, When a woman is stressed, she goes on that second floor. Now, the nice thing, I said I'd talk about them. I don't know what the time is, but I know I need to say this. Whenever you're unhappy or stressed, and what that would look like, because people always don't even know I'm unhappy or I'm lonely. They don't even know that. Or I'm hungry for vegetables. They think I'm hungry for ice cream. We don't know ourselves. All we have to know is when there's an uncomfortable feeling inside. We're somewhat stressed. We're producing this either adrenaline and then it turns into cortisol. And at that time, if you measure a woman's hormones when she's experiencing overwhelm, it's a very common one, as opposed to being angry or resentful or whatever. Often the easy one to identify is feeling overwhelmed, not enough time. How many women sometimes feel not enough time? And of course, that's a completely irrational statement because time has not changed. Okay, that's our perception of it has changed. When you take on 50 things that you really don't have to do, you're going to feel I don't have enough time. And of course, I exaggerate a bit. So when you're feeling overwhelmed, you're in a stress response. When a man is irritable, angry, passive, numb, or addicted, he's in a cortisol state. It's just different things. When cortisol, fight or flight, is the male side of us. Freeze, fake, and fold is the female side of us. If you just put those things together, according to what they say. But the bottom line is when you're stressed and you measure cortisol levels are elevated, and they've done studies on this, and they found that in the workplace, women's cortisol levels are twice as high as a man's. And when she comes home, they double. And when a man comes home, they go down. This is when men were men. It's changing a bit now because they're more feminized. They have more estrogen. The workplace, whenever you're doing anything to make money, you're making testosterone. Men need to make 10 times more testosterone than a woman. Men need 20 times testosterone. He needs his testosterone to double in your presence. That's why things happen when you get naked. You just start seeing stuff. Oh, it's not his conscious mind, it's his primitive brain, the monkey brain, and even the lizard brain. But the monkey brain, if we're all monkeys and a woman wants to have sex with me, that means I'm king for a day. If you look at a monkey tribe, you'll see that all the monkeys have different levels of testosterone, but the head guy has twice as much testosterone. And the females can smell that, so they want to be with the powerful guy. And also he has status. He's the head guy. Nobody threatens him. When he dies, they have little fighting that goes on, and one monkey is the big shot. He went from half that level of testosterone, and in one day goes to twice as much testosterone, just because of his status, his role. And what gives him that role is immediately all the women want to have sex with him. He's the guy. So how do you compete with, I wouldn't say Bill Gates, because I don't think he's had an erection in 20 years, but how do you, maybe Elon Musk, although he's slightly autistic, it's really hard when you try to do foreplay with a woman when you don't know what she's feeling. Okay, it's kind of like, wham, damn, thank you, ma'am, we did it. I remember I was in Australia one time and doing a TV show on sex, and when I was doing sex counseling on TV, and I said, so tell me about your sex life. And the guy, well, I'm really proud about our sex life. We can start the whole thing in the commercial break, whole thing and finish in the whole commercial break of Star Trek. Okay, he didn't get that women need a lot more time. And I said, well, how are you with that? And she said, oh, that's okay. It would be nice, though, if we would sometimes kiss. Sad. But she didn't know what she's missing. People don't know what they're missing. So we learn to accept what we got, and we're happy with it. Nothing wrong with that. Then you get relationship experts like me who feed the illusion that you can have so much more. But the difference between me is that I'm not blaming men, and I'm not blaming women. We're making a mess of it because we don't understand our new needs. So when a woman has cortisol levels chronically, you can measure her, and her estrogen levels are low. When she has no stress that afternoon or that day, her estrogen levels are 10 times more than a man's, as opposed to very low. It goes way up. Then, if she's at that place and he does some nice things for her, it will raise her estrogen even higher. And that's called, she's starting to think about sex. He's really a great guy. You go into kind of a temporary amnesia state of the second floor. You've forgotten there's a second floor. You're thinking all the good things. And so he's doing little things for you. Your estrogen level builds with every little thing he does. So I figured this out. I call it scoring points. It's in my books, wonderful book. So what I do is to understand women. When it comes to estrogen, all expressions of love, big or small, have the same effect. So I go to work really hard, make some money, come home. That's 1 point of love. I came home, that's 1 point. When I come home, I find her right away. Honey, where are you? She goes, he remembers me. And I come and give her a hug. And then I just go away. But that was 1 point, maybe even 2, because I had to run down to the garden to find her. And I ran. Like, she's number 1. What a difference it made in my marriage when they got little children here. I come home, daddy, daddy, daddy. You know, they're bored with her. I'm like real exciting and new, so they're all like happy to be with me. And then one day she said, you know, the kids only listen to you. They don't listen to me. And I thought, oh, well, we need to do some change here. So I come home, and first thing I say is, where's your mom? And they'd lead me off to the mom. And I give her the first hug. She's more important than the children. So, so important. Your wife needs to be number 1. What does that say? That says she's a priority. That is a major estrogen stimulator. That's it. When someone says you're special and sees you, your estrogen starts to go up. When you go into the room and don't even see her, notice her, because you're heading for the TV set or going to your computer, you don't have any idea that she's over there going, yeah, computer's more important than me. Whether she's thinking or not doesn't matter. You missed out on scoring more points. Because stress depletes her. It's like she has a love bank, estrogen bank. How do you fill it? You fill it by series of little expressions of affection. Here, going on a date, put my arm around her. You know, I can't keep it there. It gets sore or whatever. I can't even think where I'm going if I'm holding on to her all the time. Too many female hormones going in my body. Because estrogen lowers testosterone. Testosterone lowers estrogen. We want to find our right balance. So I pretty much give about 10 seconds, and I can let go. That's it. I hold her hand. I give it about 10 seconds, 6 seconds, and then let go. That was a point. I could hold her hand all evening, and it's still 1 point. And Bonnie taught me that one. She said, John, if you're going to hold my hand, hold it. After about a few minutes, your hand is like a wet fish, okay? It's like just hanging down there, and she's holding on to me. No, you got to give her a little, not hurt her, but you got to give a little energy into it. But you get distracted. How can I be doing this and navigating? So there's a balance. You don't have to give so much. With a woman, you have to give a lot of little things. And you can score big points when she's complaining, because if you don't get angry, you're a hero. One time I asked Bonnie to evaluate me. Well, many times I've done that. In fact, the first time I did it was after great sex, 7 years into the marriage. I said, that was amazing. That was like it was in the beginning. And she didn't say anything. I said, wasn't it for you? She said, oh, John, it was much better. And so I said, really? Why? To help me understand that better. That's another one of the phrases when she talks. Help me understand that better. And she said, John, in the beginning, sex was wonderful. But this is 7 years. You've seen the best of me, and you've seen the worst of me. And you still adore me. That's what makes sex great. So I felt like I was talking to a master at that moment because it rang true to me. I didn't even realize sex was about feeling the love you have. It's hard for men to fully feel what's going on. That's why we're warriors. That's why we have more muscle mass. That's why we have more testosterone. If your testosterone surges, your estrogen goes down. Love, whenever you're feeling love, connection, happiness, your true self, estrogen's going up. If you also feel confident and selfless, your testosterone's going up. Productive, meaningful, testosterone goes up. But see, men, this is the difference. Women need 10 times more estrogen just to be happy and to have ecstasy and let love grow. They need 20 times what a man needs. And a man needs 20 times more testosterone in your presence. See, right now I'm at probably 15 times more because I love all of you. And I do such a good job. And I'm having fun. So some people get angry with me. He has too much fun. He's not professional. Well, too bad. That's my life. I know I've helped somebody tonight. That's good enough for me. Okay, so for a man, scoring points. And then what happens is you open your heart to him, and he comes, and he gets really close to you. And as he's getting closer to you, what's happening to his hormones? When he feels more love for you, his estrogen goes up. And then what happens? His testosterone goes down. And men need 10 times more testosterone to even feel alive and powerful and strong. And so you make love with him, which is the ultimate estrogen peak. So much love in that moment of orgasm. Ah, so beautiful. I love you so much. I want this to go on forever. And then boom, it's over. And a few minutes later, he's sort of pulling away. Just need to turn to my side of the bed now. Just going to go over here like this. And then she says, where are you going? Can we cuddle? I said, yeah, cuddle. Put your arm around her, waiting for her to fall asleep, and then, let me out of here. Let me out of here. Just got to get to my side of the bed. What that's about, he doesn't understand it, and it's to various degrees for various men. Depending on how much they love you, they need to pull away because they need to bounce to bounce. So you could be on a great vacation to Hawaii, and you had all this great time together, and she's thinking, we've hit a new peak of love and connection, and he's at a new peak of estrogen, and his testosterone goes down. It's all instinctive. He's not conscious of this. I'm explaining what happens in his physiology. He will tend to go, now I'll go back to work, and I'll do this. He's not feeling that same intimacy, and she noticed it right away. So she thinks, what happened? What's wrong? No, you succeeded in creating a lot of love. Men need to balance it with a lot of self-time. And the wisdom for women today is I talk about men in their cave. They go to their cave to forget their problems. It's what Buddha taught. It's like right there. If you're stressed out, forget about it. That's from some TV show. Forget about it. And then what's she going to do? If you even have a little skirmish in the relationship, he's going to pull back. Because he's got to evaluate logically. What are you saying? And is this correct? And what do I have to do? And what's going to happen? Are we ever going to have sex? Or she keeps talking? Are we going to argue? And that will be 2 weeks off. Panic sets in. And so he pulls away. He has to think about it. So he's no longer emotional for a little bit of time. He's thinking about what she's saying here. Turns away. Can't look at you while he's doing it. So he pulls away. And then you say to him, what are you thinking? What are you feeling? And then he tells you. And it's escalation from there. He says, well, I don't know if I like what you said, or I don't think it's really true, or I'm not feeling very comfortable with the way you're talking to me, and I'm thinking you're complaining. He's thinking all that. But as soon as you say it, she's going to go, why are you thinking that way? And then he'll explain himself. It's not even in my book. It's a big word these days, mansplaining. He's going to explain. And you see, a minute ago, all I'm doing tonight is explaining, right? And you all clap for me. That's the best thing for a man. 3 words you can say for a man. If you want to, every day you can do this, women. It's so sweet. When a man talks, when he pauses, if it's true, you say, oh, that makes sense. You go, yeah, what did I say? Or you say, you're right. He feels good. Every time a man explains something and you say, that makes sense. That's a good idea. I hadn't thought of that before. Amazing. You are just amazing. Men go, yes, I am. He needs that. You need to know you're beautiful. He cares about you. You're a priority. When you're unhappy, you're not crazy. He understands you. It's just a moment of needing to go way over to your female side because you've been so much on your male side. Now she needs to go to her female side, so she needs to be a little non-logical. All negativity actually is non-logical. I'll give you a simple example. A woman comes into my office. She's very stressed, very unhappy. I get her to talk for a while, get her to cry, then tell her it's all her problems are her fault. And she leaves happy, empowered. Victim is not empowered. Remember I said therapists, they do this thing where they want to validate you? So you talk about all your painful experience. I know, it's terrible. Men are awful. You'll never get what you want. That must be so awful. What's your future going to be? Can you even have children with this man? This is going to be terrible. I know how you feel. What's she going to walk out feeling? Yes, I got validation for being a victim. No, you have to validate her pain. And I can't validate a woman truly who is so victim. But what I can do is validate the pain. I have pain. I can validate if she's angry. I can validate if she's sad. I can validate if she's hurting. I can validate if she's scared. Those are emotions. When women learn how to communicate with consciousness of what your emotion is, like say to them, you know, today I was in traffic. I feel so frustrated. There are potholes on the road. It's so disappointing. That's another emotion. Disappointing. It used to be so wonderful here in Marin County. Now the traffic is crazy. I'm afraid there's so much construction if I wouldn't get to work on time. Anger, sadness, fear. These are emotions, the primary emotions. You know, this is emotional intelligence moment. If you have one of those big screens a long time ago before it was digital, they had these 3 lights, and on a black screen with pure light going through and a computer, you could create infinite number of colors from 3 colors. All of your suffering is anger, frustration, at one level, the red emotions, angry, frustrated, and rage. Okay, those are your big 3. Sadness, disappointment, or hurt. Those are your blue emotions. Yellow emotions, afraid, concerned, worried. Those are your fear emotions. And what I've seen is when people are stuck in their suffering, they're feeling only one. And then when you get good at those 3 and you grow up, you realize that you regret what you said and you regret what you did. And sometimes it's hard. I didn't do anything. Yeah, but you're not very loving right now. If you're angry, you're not loving. If you're hurting, you're really not hurt. You're not loving. And that's hard for people to comprehend at a low level. Think about it. If you hurt my feelings, I'm only hurt because I love you, right? If I don't love you, you can't hurt me. Big deal. So when you love someone and they reject you or they say something bad about you or they ignore you, you take it personally. You feel hurt. So you think, because I love you, I felt hurt. That's true. But when you're feeling hurt, you're not loving. We have to wake up and get that blaming other people is not loving. Love looks like this. Love looks like, am I lucky to be with you? And remembering all the good things about this relationship. That's love. Love is peaceful. Love in meditation is like a cloud, so soft, like a rose smell. That's what we want. Come back to the love. Because always behind negative emotions is our desire to be loved and to love. So it's goodness, but when we're having negative emotions, we're disconnected from that person. So that's, again, taking responsibility. So I'm so sorry I'm being so judgmental now. So sorry I'm being critical. I'm sorry I ignored you. I'm sorry I was being so mean. I'm sorry I sounded critical. I don't mean to do that. I love you. And then you shift from the negative emotions to the positive emotions. I don't know how much time I have, but I could demonstrate this with somebody. How much time do I have? Oh, definitely. I cannot. Okay, thank you. Okay, let me give you the basics of men and hormones. That's what I said I would do today. It's real simple, but there's a whole 400-page book that explains it in great detail. Simply put, when women are on their male side, thinking, I have to do something, and I don't have time, I don't have enough support, but I have to do it to make money, you're making testosterone. Anytime you're doing something for the outcome rather than like a mother giving to her children because you love them. You're not looking to get any money out of that. It's personal. It's personal. It's impersonal. You got to do what you got to do to achieve your goal. That's testosterone. That's when testosterone goes up. A man going into battle, his testosterone is way high. And if he complains, his testosterone goes way down. That's why men don't complain. I hate these therapists encouraging men to complain. I'm gentle with one. I've got a violent guy I'm counseling right now, and all he does is complain. So I have to very gently explain to him, when you're feeling successful, when you feel confident, you're producing testosterone. And if you complain, you can feel inside alone. You can look at, okay, what's bothering me? Talk to a therapist about it. But take responsibility for not being a very loving person at that time. But to complain to your partner, I'm telling you, this is power. Women complain, they're used to a man complaining back. Don't. And if she gets really upset because she says, oh, what are you thinking? What's going on inside? This is what women do when they don't feel safe. They go to their male side. They want to penetrate you. I want to know what you're feeling because I can tell you why you shouldn't feel that way. I want to know what you're thinking. What's going on inside of you? What you want to know, women? That's your erection. You want to penetrate him, but not in a nice way. His job is to penetrate you. That's masculinity. I'm going into you when I listen. When you open your heart with love, you're spread open. You're inviting him in. But unfortunately, in order to open up, sometimes you need a lot of estrogen. And talking about problems and your emotions, talking about emotions, the most powerful estrogen stimulator. He holds the space. He learns to suck it up. He needs boot camp. He needs to, and you just be in a relationship. She'll be upset about stuff, and you say to her, tell me more. Or help me understand that better. And then when you think it's all over, you go, well, what else? Man, you are like Superman in her eyes, and you need to know that when you do that, estrogen is building. It may not work as good as it's going to work after you do it 5 or 10 times. I remember Bonnie saying to me, John, one of the times I evaluated our relationship, it was around 21 years. I said, how do you evaluate me, honey, as a husband? She said, as a father, you're perfect. Can't imagine a better father for our children. As a husband, you're not perfect. But you've given me the greatest gift any woman could have. Want. I said, what's that? She said, I know I can say things and do things that really push your buttons and upset you. And at those times, you stop talking and you take some time away. You go to your cave, you do some magic, and you come back every time with more love and no blame. Because I know if something upsets me, it's up to me to change, not to change her. If we can just get this. When you become more of who you are, you pull out the best in your partner. Trying to change them. Now, when you use complaining to get what you want from your partner, to change them, you're actually growing pathways in your brain to look at negativity to get attention. Your brain learns, oh, I get attention. And also, you get dopamine. Big complaining women, they've done them under MRIs. That means you're depressed. Okay, that's a big. She's not complaining out loud. She's just in her mind. I'm not happy. Okay, so a depressed woman, unhappy woman, or anxious woman, or woman can't sleep. Put her more on an extreme level. You put them in an MRI and you look at the brain, and it's like she just took cocaine. It's addictive. Looking at negativity is addictive. So what I suggest in the John Gray cult is for 3 months. Just say to your partner, let's join the cult for 3 months and do this one thing, which is whenever she wants you to talk and she's complaining or wants to penetrate you, you simply say, let's not talk about this now. Instead, let's focus on what we're grateful for, what we're happy about, what we're hopeful about, and what we're proud of. Those are the opposite of anger is gratitude. The opposite of the sadness and disappointment and hurt is I'm happy. The opposite of your fears, anxieties, and worries is hopefulness. And the opposite of guilt is self-esteem. I'm proud. You train your brain whenever you feel negativity and stress to go to your positive feelings. You feel, but you can't when you're bicycle riding and you go like to sadness, you can't just immediately go back to I'm happy. Children can. But actually a demonstration of this is I saw it so clear with my children because I created a no punishment zone and also created safety and understanding and asking questions a lot. That was still set boundaries or whatever, but that was punishment. That was a whole book. But I'm driving in the car, and my little daughter, Lauren, she says, oh, Daddy, let's stop and get ice cream, because there's a lot of children outside the ice cream shop in Mill Valley. And I said, no, we're not going to have ice cream today. What? Why? Why can't we have ice? They're having ice cream. I want ice cream. It's not. And I say to her, yes, I know you're angry. And you want your ice cream, and other kids get it. So why don't you? After all, I do so many things for you. Why don't I give you ice cream? And she goes, yeah. And she was happy for a moment. Because most of a child's upset is really about you don't understand. You see, you don't understand how important ice cream is to me because I know you. You always want to do things for me to make me happy. So that will make me happy. So you're going to do it now that you understand. And I say to her, I understand you want the ice cream and you're angry about it. That's part teaching her emotional literacy at a young age. And you're frustrated. And that was so cute to have a little child say, yes, I'm frustrated. My grandchildren, they know all the emotions. But once I said, I understand, you're angry, you want that, I get it. You want that ice cream, those kids are getting it, why don't you? And she goes, yes, why don't you? I said, well, we don't have ice cream every day. Then she started to cry again. I said, I know, you're disappointed. You're sad. She goes, yes, I am. I don't get my ice cream. And she started to cry. And then I just said, sweetie, I understand you're sad. And sometimes we do have ice cream. I think we have a birthday coming up. We'll do ice cream then. No, I'll never have ice cream again. You'll never give me ice cream. Nope, they get it and I don't. See, that's what we're doing all the time when we say, oh, my future's so bright. No, my future's not bright. There's globalists. They're going to destroy the world. Well, there's also a thing called God and the universal intelligence, which is teaching everybody, don't be stupid. Don't do this stuff. Don't believe these idiots. Look at what's happening. Look what they're doing. Oh, the administration is doing such a good job. Prices are up, danger's up, violence is up. And people, yes, I'm going to vote for Biden. Just like, although I know so many friends who are Democrats, now they're Republicans. Even the Republicans are awful, but I just need to make my voice. I don't stand for all this crazy stuff you're doing. Anyway, so, see, I can come right back to happy. And then pollute myself with some water. And then I said to her, oh, sweetie, I know you're scared that we'll never have ice cream again. She says, yes. And I said, and she settles down because I hear her. When emotions are felt by an adult, tension goes away. All in the Upanishads, the Indian literature, they say all suffering comes from ignorance of connection. See, there's an ignorance. We're together. We just keep believing that we can't get what we want. We go into fear, whatever. And many times you can't get what you want right away because you're too selfish, you're demanding, and you're not happy with what you got. You know, one of my favorite phrases, my mother taught me this, another enlightened being. Never saw her upset. She's totally selfless with her 7 children. It was amazing. I learned yoga at 3 years old. She had the biggest esoteric bookstore in the world at that time. So that's what I grew up with. So I have a little advantage on others. What am I, a white supremacist now? Well, I'm luckier than others. But if you believe in past lives, I've done this many, many times before. We all have. That's why we're here. And sometimes you, the beautiful beings of light, wonder, how did I get the parents I got? Because all the angels are up there, and God's sending you here to earth. And where does God send you? To bring your light to the darkest places. So my parents were not so dark, but my brothers really... They buried me alive. Okay, so we all have our challenges to go through. Our challenges are there to teach us lessons, and we have access to spirit. And if we can recondition ourselves, the global mind gets a little reconditioning as well, because they don't have the benefits and the blessings that we can bring to the world by doing our work to come back to love again and again, come back to having faith, come back to positivity, but don't ignore the devil. The devil is real. Evil is real on this planet. Now, I never say that to my kids because they are in a dream state. They need to feel for many, many years until they start individuating at 13 that the world's an ugly place and a beautiful place. That's reality, and that's the way our brain is set up. If you have blood flow to the left, you see everything's beautiful. If you have blood flow to the right, you see only problems. The problem is when hormones go out of balance. For a woman, too much activity where she doesn't feel support. Now, what does that mean? Support is when you're doing something you love to do, your estrogen goes up. If you're enjoying what you're doing, your estrogen goes up. If something's healthy, but you see, you can do things that are enjoyable that aren't healthy. Men, when you go to your cave, meditation, most powerful testosterone builder there is. That's, and I'm going to add to it a little bit more. Sex. We're living in a sex-addicted society. This is a big problem. If you look historically, you weren't supposed to have sex until you're married. There was wisdom in that. Masturbation was thought to be sinful. There was wisdom in that. That's in a world of good and bad. I don't live in that world of good and bad. I'm a non-judgmental person. But I live in a world of what works and what doesn't work. And what happens is happening today. Addiction to masturbation, particularly in men and some women. What that does for men is it lowers their testosterone. Now, you can look at the research that's done by the porn industry, and they'll say masturbation does not change your testosterone levels at all. Except that every year in all age categories, testosterone are going down, 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 down. And you're even starting out at 20% less now because of the water in your mother when she's drinking. This is like crazy stuff, the world we're entering into. And we can correct it with awareness. But to me, the biggest evil, when I look at what's not working, is how massively addicted sex is. When you have sex without love, you're an animal. I've been an animal. I'm a victim of this. I used to go around having sex with girls. Okay, so I was an animal. But we don't want to encourage it. We don't want to put 64,000 naked women giving the message that I'm king and they want to have sex with me. That's what, I had to write a book on this, so I went online, saw free porn. 64,000 women all saying, have sex, I'll have sex with you, I'll have sex with you. My testosterone shot up, and boy, did I want to masturbate. And I did. I had no control over it. Okay, and I'm a master of celibacy. I'm still celibate, but I have sex. That's a later level of once you learn how to raise the energy up in your body and circulate it through your body, you can learn to have multiple orgasms. There's books written on this. Multiple orgasms. It's like learning how to throw a basketball in the hoop every time. It takes a while. That's not this class. But you can have multiple orgasms and you don't ejaculate. And then you can, at 70 years old, you have sex every day, sometimes for hours, sometimes 10 minutes because you don't have time. But this is what keeps men long. This is Taoism. So I studied Taoism in China for 10 years about how to circulate the qi energy in your body, and sex is one of the things that keep you healthy and vital, as opposed to your average man, not everybody in here, but the average man at 50, his testosterone levels are half. This is the average American. It's this. And if you're doing it with your wife, thank goodness, you have love, so you're not just an animal. And what's happening is you're having sex with love, is if it's your wife and you have a commitment with us, that's love. See, a lot of guys go out and have sex, and they go, I have love. Of course you have love. Just like when I eat ice cream, I have love. I love it. Just touch that guy down there, and I'll love you until he goes away, and then I'm ready to move on. The porn sites say that the average time of the multi-millions of people that do it every day, they can't even do a study, does porn lower your testosterone? Because they can't find college students that don't do porn. You need a control group to do a study. But there is a study, and I will share that. I just love it. Because I'm a big fan of not too much sex, and I'm a big fan of also no sex. But also I'm a big fan of not ejaculating. And this is not everybody's journey, but let me just say some of the basic facts that every married couple should know. Masturbation is heavily addictive. You hit dopamine levels close to cocaine. If you have sex just with a woman you love, after you ejaculate, your body makes a different hormone than masturbation. Your body makes, depending upon your commitment to your partner and time, your body makes prolactin. Prolactin is a female hormone, but that prolactin is what allows men to not lust after other women. And it frees me. I mean, I look at women all the time, and I'm not interested at all because I make prolactin every time. Because when I have sex, my body is for love. The reason I have sex is to feel the depth of my love for someone. And that's an awareness. Remember, I gave that little, my wife pointed out to me at 7 years, for me to become aware that when I'm having sex, to be aware, why am I doing this? The pleasure can put you back into just doing this for pleasure. No, you feel pleasure because when you feel pleasure, you don't resist. Okay, nobody resists pleasure. But not resistance allows you to open your heart. Particularly for men, sex is one of the most important things. To feel that a woman wants you in that way. Because what she's doing is she's opening herself up for you. That's called appreciation. That's called trust. What are the 3 most important forms of love that raise testosterone? Trust. acceptance, appreciation. If I do something, who's enjoyed my talk so far? Let me hear your applause. Now, there's so many empty chairs, so would you just double the applause for me? I want to walk away feeling really good. Okay, thank you. Okay. I don't get paid for this, so that's my payment, all right? So, okay. What is it? Where was I there? Yeah. What is it? Sort of, I can depend on you. See, when you can depend on someone, that's estrogen stimulation. But you shouldn't just depend on a man. Part of it is depending on yourself. That's called self-love. Part of it's depending upon eating. That's self-love. Anything is pleasurable for you. Part of it is having a child and caring for a child, or having a pet, or having a garden. Okay? If you enjoy gardening, doing things you enjoy to do that don't have pressure, time pressure, money pressure. Also shopping. It is a very big estrogen producer, because you can look at what you can have and what you can't have, but there's always something you could have, maybe not even buy anything. But it's looking at what I could have if I liked it. It's that sense of havingness, holding. I'm holding a baby. I'm holding a relationship. I'm holding the family together. I'm safe. I'm holding. That is big estrogen stimulator. So if you want to know more about all the permutations of that, the book Beyond Mars and Venus, 3 chapters, because it's not just estrogen for women. It's estrogen after about 5 days. You've got 3 or 4 days in your period. And then you've got a time where your testosterone goes up and your estrogen goes up. And then about 5 or 6 days after your period, then your estrogen has to double so you can make a baby. That's called ovulation. If you can't make babies anymore, you still have a cycle. It goes with the moon. If you're out of stress, if you're stressed, you won't be in cycle. But just that's the time when you need more romance. You need to feel, if you don't have a man in your life, you go to your doctor. You say, I need a checkup. Somebody who knows something that you can depend on for help. What women have to know is, I just finished a class on how to bring out the best in a man at my website. It's not going to be out for another 6 months, but it's how to bring out the best in a man. And so many women, they say, when they took the other course on that, say, oh, I'm always giving more to him, and then he'll just sit back and take it. Who's not? But what builds testosterone is when I do something for you. And for me to be motivated to do something for you, you need help. If you're like Miss Strong, independent woman, I can do it all, which is most of the women today, what do you need help for? So where's my job? Remember I said, we used to be you were hungry without us, you're in danger without us, you just wake up and you have power. I remember as a little boy being told that one day you're going to have to make money just to have a family. Oh, money, work, It was too much for me to hear at that time. That's a lot of pressure. I was able to do it because I had a father who could do it. I had a role model who could do it. So I didn't end up a violent criminal. None of those guys have fathers, none of them. 70% of black children, boys, don't have fathers, meaning they don't know them, they're not there, they're not present, and they have mothers who hate them. Men are no good. How can I grow up as a little boy? My mother thinks men are no good. I don't know that anybody here, but if you're divorced, fine. You have a peaceful divorce, that's great. Never complain in front of your children about your ex. We had differences of opinion. As opposed to so many times, people just diss the father. The father disses the mother. The mother and the father are inside that child. Which, by the way, once you get to your own childhood, then you're going to get to your parents' childhood. And then you're going to get to that. To all the way you get back to your monkey inside. That's when you really can, have control your sexuality. That's the primitive, food, sleep, sex. It's bringing consciousness into the darkness inside of us and awakening it in a productive way, which is meaningful, and we can be in service to the world. So here's the study. The study is, first of all, prolactin frees you, when you do it regularly, frees you from the desire to have sex with anybody else. Think about what nature would do. That's the reality. They've tested that out. So you masturbate, you don't get prolactin. Or you have sex online, you have prolactin. Or you have sex without love, then that a woman doesn't love you, then nature says, well, then you should go be lustful to find another one. You need to go out and find a woman to have babies, so we have evolution. So if you find the woman to have a baby with, your body says, okay, we're not going to let you have sex but once a week because we want you to live a long life. You can count your days you're going to live by how many times you ejaculate according to the Taoists. Sorry, but it's the way it is. So they did this study on 25-year-old athletes. Okay, so this is prime of their life with testosterone, athletes and testosterone, muscle mass. And they said, okay, have sex. They had with their girlfriend or their wife. You have sex on Saturday night. And they measured, after you have sex, your testosterone goes down to baseline. We all have a baseline testosterone level. And that's why the porn people say, oh, after you masturbate, it just goes down to baseline. What they don't tell you is that baseline gets lower, lower, and lower throughout your life. So you have sex once. Now you go for, now this isn't me preaching this. I'm just telling you the study, which has been repeated several times. You don't ejaculate for 6 days. On the 7th day, you'll wake up and your testosterone levels will be 50% higher, just as if it was the first time you made love. And when you can do that, then a woman is conditioned to open up to you again. Because if every time a man has sex with you, his testosterone goes down, that means his attentiveness, his interest, his affection and warmth temporarily disappears for a while. We all know men when they're horny, when I remember one time came into the kitchen one morning and gave my wife this really hug, touching her, and I love you, honey. She stops and she goes, the only time you touch me is when you want sex. It's a natural thing. Sex feels good, and when you start to feel good, you can feel the love in your heart. It just comes forth. It's there, but can you feel it? That guy who's so angry and upset and goes to his cave, he's not feeling it. The love is there. And if you get him to talk at that time, you're going to hear somebody that's not him. That's not his authentic self. Often when people get in arguments and fights, we say, oh, now I know it. Now the truth comes out. You showed your real colors. No, that's not who they are at all. That's who they are when they're crazy. And every one of us has been crazy at some point. Or creepy, or bullying, or mean, or nuts. Just go online and watch, what's their name, those movie stars. What are their names now? The big show on TV now is he's suing her for $50 million. Johnny Depp. Well, I've been there. My first marriage, I want to take my cave time. My wife, I told her, I'll listen to you anytime. I will hear you. But once I'm tired, I work every day. After 12 o'clock, no talking. And of course, then what would happen? The clock hit 12. We need to talk. Why do we need to talk? I'll talk to you tomorrow. I can't talk now. No, we have to talk now. I said, I don't want to talk. I want to sleep. I'm tired. I want to sleep. So I said, look, I'm done. I'm going to go into the other room. So I go into the other room. I lock it. She's, please come out. Please come out. I saw Depp's wife was doing the same thing. He said he was in a big fancy house. He had to go into 9 different bedrooms to get away from her. Please, wait, talk to me. And then they throw all this negativity on him. It's crazy. Now, I'm not saying all of you do that. Happened in my first marriage, which only lasted 2 years. But I learned a lot. It was a big deal for me. Okay, so 10 minutes. Okay, anybody have a comment, question? I covered so many things tonight. If you have no question, would somebody tell me what you learned? Matter of fact, if you want to ask a question, you first have to tell me what you learned. Okay. All right, what did you learn?
Mothers don't love their children. Is that right?
Say that again.
I learned that from you, according to you, you said that 70% of black mothers don't love their children.
No, I didn't say that. I said they don't know their fathers, and quite often they're divorced, and they don't have a good relationship. It's not they don't love their children. They don't love men. They feel that you can't trust a man. And if we're talking about black people, there's a generalization here, but it travels around the world, not just black people. It's you can't trust men to be faithful.
70% figure is not right.
Okay, what is it?
It's not even logical.
Which one?
It's not even logical to say.
70%? I get it. No, it's not it's what I hear on the news. So if it's not true, I'll accept that.
Get off that InfoWars then.
No, that's not on InfoWars. That's the woke.
Okay, all
All right, but thank you for bringing it up. You have a right to. All right. So you didn't learn that. Okay. Do you have a question? fatherlessness is the most important issue right now on our planet. I wrote a whole book on it. It's called The Boy Crisis. Right now, twice as many women graduate from college than boys. Suicide rates in boys are 8 times higher. Violence is dramatically higher. And if you want to talk about blacks, it's much higher in the black community. Not white on black, black on black. And you can give all the reasons for it. What I'm saying is they don't grow up in happy, fulfilled relationships. And just to put it in context, 40% of white boys don't know their fathers. So it's not that astronomical, but I get it. That's what I hear in the statistics. And my book has 40 pages of studies and statistics. And hey, if it's not true, I'm not attached to it. I'm just saying, what a bummer. What a bummer. Okay, you were this year?
Can I wait till he comes back?
Oh, good. Right over there.
My girl's going through menopause, and she had hot flashes before I got there. But every time I get deep in the love vibe with her, she has a hot flash. And it happens a lot. Is
Okay.
that a physical?
Yeah, it's physiological. What hot flashes, and from what I've read, never had a hot flash. From what I've read is it's as you're shifting gears, your body can't regulate estrogen levels. Because that's what a hot flash is. Estrogen helps regulate temperature, and your body is shifting from your ovaries making estrogen to your adrenal gland making estrogen. And for a lot of women, what happens is they're going into menopause. If they have adrenal burnout due to chronic stress at other times in their life, then their adrenal gland can't make enough estrogen. And if you can't make something, you'll spike it to get it, and then it will disappear, and it just disturbs the regulation. And there's a wonderful supplement. I used to have a health food store, and that really worked on a lot of things. You just see what works and this is one. It's three. Okay, I'll give you my email, john@marsvenus.com. Email me. These are 3 herbs, proven, double-blind studies. We'll minimize them in a month. They'll be gone if you keep taking the herbs for a while till you make the adjustment. But it saves so many people. Another one is maca. Maca helps regulate hormones for both men and women, helps men to produce more testosterone. I'm not a big fan of taking testosterone. It will shrink your testicles, and your ability to make testosterone is now dependent on taking it. And if you take too much, which is what happens when men have too much testosterone, it turns into estrogen. When we talk about anger, what happens is when I'm challenged, I have to be cool, calm, and collected. My testosterone's going up because I have a problem, and if I feel confident, I'm solving it. But if I start to question my ability to solve the problem, now I'm experiencing some fear. As soon as I experience fear, my estrogen levels are going up, and my testosterone levels are going down. So testosterone is all about confidence and the ability to make a difference, to solve problems. And the other side of it is for women, estrogen goes up at the right time when you're feeling safe and supported. Once you hit ovulation time of the month, then estrogen still needs to be there, but not as much, and your progesterone has to go up as well. Progesterone has a lot to do with your relationships with other people and not your primary relationship. So what can happen is, when you're with other women, you're making dinner, you're in your garden, you're doing things that are fun and interesting for you. That's all progesterone stimulating, which will lower your stress levels. Feeling safe produces a hormone called oxytocin, and when you feel safe, then you feel, oh, I can depend on someone for something. So safety is a key thing here. I heard a little story one time, and I like it. It was a man gives a woman sperm, and she makes a baby. A man gives a woman food, and she makes a delicious meal. I know this sounds so sexist, but it's a sweet story. And a man gives a woman money, a home. Oh, no, he gives her money, and she creates a beautiful home. And a man gives a woman anger, and she makes 10 times more. You don't want to express out loud anger to a woman. And these used to be common phrases. When you get angry, you stop talking if you're a man. Because if you talk while you're angry at somebody, now if I'm talking to a friend, I can express some anger, but actually the best thing for men to do when you're angry is talk to a guy who's been there and make a joke about it. Lighten it up. It's no big deal. You might need to vent a little bit, but you've got to lighten up. And that's what I learned this from the more extreme masculine men who were firemen. I was teaching that idea, and a fireman came up to me and says, yeah, we all, like, after a fire and people are dead and bodies are everywhere, we have to make jokes about it. Now, if you said that to a therapist, they say, oh, you're in denial. No, you're not. You're processing the stress so you can minimize the problem, relax, and then, particularly in an intimate relationship, that's when you do this feeling letter exercise. Remember I mentioned all those emotions? What I would do is, because first you have to do something to build up your testosterone, and now you're feeling kind of neutral, but you're still blaming your partner. That's when I would write out my emotions and come back to what I want, and then realize everything she did wrong, and then I would look at everything I did wrong. It's much easier to look at what they do wrong, but don't go tell them. Trust, and often people call it the power of attraction. The power of attraction is if you change you, the world outside of you changes. Now, my feeling and belief, just to say this, is just a little theory. If we can actually find the evil inside of us and transform it, there's no need for evil to be out there and trigger us to find ourselves. Because we all have it inside of us to various degrees. I hope I don't have that much evil, but but the whole idea is if you can find it inside yourself and still behave with love, okay, it's there and I let it go, and it's there and I let it go, then it doesn't have to be out there. Because in my belief system, which is too much for some people, if all that bad stuff is out there and I grow from it, well, that's a good thing. Even though I would never say bad stuff is a good thing, but I'm going to make it a good thing for me. I'm going to look at how I react to it and change how I react to it, regardless of the situation. And I remember one movie called Hurricane. Who saw the movie Hurricane? He was a fighter, and he was the best. And they knew he was the best. They didn't want him to win, and so they false charges against him and put him in jail, life or something like that, so many years. And these women kept trying to get him out by showing it was all a lie, it was all a lie. And finally, they're going to get him out, and the guy saying, so how do you feel about that? He says, I'm already over it. That's not exactly what he said. He said it much more poetically. He says, you know, that fighting put me in this jail, but love freed me. He's just not to seek revenge. You know, I remember Oprah saying to me, she says, you know, if you have revenge, or in her show she was saying, holding on to revenge or even resentment is giving somebody else free rent in your brain to torment you. But our nature is to hold tight, because that's before we have a higher self that we can feel we can create our reality. If I can't create my reality to various degrees of being able to do it, then I've got to change you if I want to be happy. And thinking that, oh, I can't be happy until I change you, rather than recognizing I have the power to react, explore my reactions. The awareness goes into it. You look at the negative, then you choose to look at the positive, and then you feel better. And your mind has intuition, you have wisdom, and so forth, as opposed to denying the negative or denying the positive. I know I've been talking a long time, and you guys are really hanging in there. Probably out of politeness, you want to stay. And I want to say to the gentleman who doesn't believe, and I don't believe it either now that you said that, I might be wrong, I'll check it out again. And I do want to recommend that anybody who's got boys, you might benefit from my book on boy crisis. Huge amount of research in there. And I've written a book, Secrets of Great Sex. And when you take that one study about sex once a week, 6 days, no ejaculation, on the 7th day, it's like new. It takes a few weeks to get into that pattern. Now, if you have sex twice a week, then you never hit the 50% up again until you stop ejaculating so much. It's just like a tip. So think about the logic of that. If you go for a day without eating, doesn't food taste so good the next day? It's just like, don't overstimulate the brain. That's the whole point of this, and wrote a whole book on that too. Anyway, so this is all, a lot of this hormone stuff, very practical. I call it new relationship skills in order to create lasting love in your life. And even if you're not into relationships and you came to talk with me, maybe a part of you is, but if you're not, this is just good to know for yourself, is that when I'm stressed and I'm a woman, I need to do certain behaviors in my life without a man in order to keep my estrogen levels up, as opposed to getting addicted to my male side. And men get addicted to their female side. And I was addicted to my female side. I was a teenager having lots of sex, listening to rock and roll music, taking drugs and getting high. And I still remember it's like the epitome of estrogen, which is one of the songs. It was, do what you like, dun, 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 do what you like, dun, 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 do what you like. It went on for 20 minutes, do what you like. See, that is the message for women. Try to create more time to do what you like. And for men to come back to your male side, mission, purpose. And whenever I feel in the morning, I want to sleep in, nope, I have to do something. I've set my goal and I have to do something. That feeling of I have to do it, that's a testosterone producer. And there's a lot of things women have to do, but you just want to balance that with do what you like. Have more of what you like to do. And if you keep shifting that way, the world will reflect that and give you more opportunities to do what you like. And for men, doing what you have to do, by shifting into that place, instead of doing what you like, your reward for doing what you have to do becomes greater and greater. So these are all energetically things. And so I know you're exhausted and tired, but sometimes they say make people exhausted and tired, and then they can know God. So I'm going to do a little exercise with you. It will take a few minutes. And I feel so connected with you, and you're connected with me by going along with me. So I do a little prayer. This is a place where people do all kinds of prayers. So I'd like you to just, in your heart, go along with it. Don't get hung up on the words. So I call upon the divine powers of the universe. I call upon God. Our hearts are open to you. And I want you to put your hands in the air. Nobody's looking. Eyes closed, hands in the air. And that causes blood to go down in your fingertips. And that creates a healing reaction in your body. And healing is divine energy. So just keep it up there till you want to relax and put them down. So dear God, my heart is open to you. Our hearts are open to you. Please come. Fill us with love and light. Right now, through your angels, bless everyone in this room. We're open to receive your blessings of love, light, truth, happiness, joy. Now, right now, the energy is starting to increase. That will be tingling in your fingertips or kind of a numbness, maybe even a heat. But fingertips, put your attention on fingertips, because you're now free, you're vibrating. Now, put your hands up in the air a little bit more if you can feel that tingling. Just want to see that. Yeah, many people, everybody. Maybe it's because I told you to raise your hands up. Anyway, so now you're feeling that energy. That's going to be your anchor point. Now we're going to shift and use a little visualization. Dear God, our hearts are open to you. Please come. Bless us here today in our group consciousness. And use a vision of a rose. In your mind's eye, imagine seeing a beautiful rose. What color do you see? And using this frequency of that beautiful rose and sweet smell, fill us with your love and light. Right now, send your angels of love and light with our offering of this beautiful rose. Thank you. So that's feeling the energy. Now we felt the energy. You can bring your hands down, but just continue feeling the energy and your fingertips. The energy sort of gets thicker around you or sparkles around you. Dear God, using this beautiful rose, take away all the darkness. Take away my sorrow. Take away my fear. And imagine energy flowing out of you now through your hands, or you might even imagine it like little butterflies floating off your body into the space around you. Take away my sadness. Take away and heal the hurt in my heart. Take away the fear that holds me from opening my heart more fully to trusting and believing in you. Take away the blocked energy of frustrations in my life, worries. Just let it all go into the rose. Like fertilizer, God's angels love to take away our negativity. And as we empty out, now we ask that it be recycled through our beautiful rose and through this collective consciousness and the angels in the room. Fill us back. Let the energy come back in through your fingertips, for some people, through your feet, up your body. And let it go to your heart, your liver, your lungs. Just feel that your whole body fill up with that energy. For some, imagine light filling through you. For some, feel electricity. And as you let that energy go out, it comes back more, and it flows in. And as it flows in, feel what you desire without thinking, is it possible? Just feel what you want: happiness, health, be of service, comfort, ease, loving yourself, giving love. Who are the people important in your life? Just feel the energy coming in, and now imagine it going back out through your heart. Let the energy flow out of you to comfort the people in this world who are so afraid, so scared. The people you love, family members, giving them comfort and ease. And as you receive the energy in and send it right back out, a steady flow of energy comes back to you, a blessing of the angels. For when we channel that energy through us, more comes to us to give. And now let your awareness go up to your third eye. Imagine it going all the way up and right out the third eye, channeling the energy from the bottom of the spine all the way to the third eye, sending it out, radiating it out. And as it radiates out, let it swing around into a halo over your head. And this is the beginning of circling energy, channeling energy in a circle. Let it spin around your head, like they see in the pictures, a little halo. Spinning around, spinning around, spinning around. Energy going all the way up and spinning around. And now imagine as it's that circling of the crown, now let that circle go out and come back in the bottom of the spine, come back up. So you create kind of a wheel, energy flowing up, energy flowing out, in a big circle. And as you do that, you're going out, circling the energy, and then you assimilate it, coming back to you. And as you assimilate more energy, it increases, and you accumulate it. And as you accumulate it, imagine your energy field getting bigger and bigger, expanding out. Right at your heart, radiating out and around. And feel yourself expanding, expanding. And as you're going out, imagine pulling energy in, gathering energy. As it goes out, you're pulling it in. Energy going out and pulling it in. And as the energy, you're going out and pulling it in, you're now penetrating into the space around you. Penetrating out, and then pulling it back in. Concentrating your awareness as everything comes into the base of your spine. Just for fun, just feel what you feel as we go through this. And as that energy comes in and concentrates inside of you, go back out, and this time merge into it. Become one with it. Merge. And as you merge, pull it back in, infusing it into your consciousness. Merging and infusing. And as it comes into you, you merge again. Now you're radiating out. Your heart is shining beautiful love, radiating out. Feel the tingling in your fingertips and your palms and your body and your heart. Radiating out. Now once again, as you radiate out, infusing it back into you as you go further out, integrating it into you, becoming a part of you. That's when you're listening to your partner and trying to understand where they're coming from. You've merged with them and you're finding that inside yourself. And now let the energy awareness go back out, permeating. As you expand out into the space, into the galaxies, all around the country, whatever, just go out. Think about where you were born, expand to there. Permeate the energy there. We're almost done. Just feel that like a cloud, merging into a cloud, permeating in. Maybe like the soft water of a cloud. And as you go out and you pull the energy back in again, you're exchanging the energy. Exchanging that beautiful rose. Because we're always using that rose, connecting with that energy. Love energy. Exchanging energy. Take a deep breath. And as you exchange energy, you become that energy. I am that. And as you go into that, you realize that I am. That God, that ocean, I am that. that I am. And then bring the energy down to your heart. I am that I am. And as you do, I am that I am, then who are you? Dissolve, disappear for a few moments. Let go. Let go, and now just let God, the source energy, come through you. And feel your heart surrendering. I depend on you. I depend on you. I can have what I need. And that's the letting go and letting God. So feel the peace, feel the softness, feel the rose, give thanks. Rub your hands together and finish up. So a very nice, peaceful energy meditation. How many people felt some good energy? Yeah, I know I do a lot of talking there, but it's nice to have words to fill the space. So we've had a lovely evening. We learned a lot, lots of insights. Thank you all so much. And I know we're in that cloud of bliss, but now that we want to come back to the earth and experience real groundedness, so can you triple it for me this time? Your appreciation of this talk. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you all.